Hi, this is Lippy. I'm a shamanic healer, and in today's video, I would like to talk to you about the difference between faith and trust and the one ingredient that pulls it all together. If you look at the dictionary meaning of faith and trust, you will see that the two words are actually inscripted as being synonyms of each other, and they basically mean pretty much the same thing. It's about having a very strong belief in something, or a belief that something is reliable, is going to come through for you. And where faith is concerned, another meaning for faith also means religious faith, that is, having a particular faith in a particular religion or deity, etc. But for today's video, I'm actually going to use slightly different definitions, and I have to say these are my definitions, and this video is purely about my experiences with these two things, my perspective, a little bit of psychology thrown in there, which we're going to get to later, but mostly it's my perspective, which is a perspective. It is not the perspective, and it's not the only perspective, and if it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. I respect that. So my definition of faith is, I view faith as something that probably we have within us innately, and that is an innate idea, or even a faint recognition, if not an idea, that we either are part of something bigger, a higher power, or that we are that higher power, depending on how you look at it. And trust to me is something that is connected to, so my understanding of the word trust is connected to the word truth. And to be able to trust something is to be able to see the truth of that thing appearing in three-dimensional reality. So faith can be an innate understanding, a feeling that we're part of something higher, and calling upon that, or at least, if not calling upon it, sensing it, knowing it, and believing that was maybe something or somebody out there has your back. But it's not necessarily something that would always be demonstrated in reality, whereas with trust, in my experience and my understanding, to really gain trust in something or someone, even in God, and this is a bit controversial what I'm saying, we need to see proof of that trust in 3D, because I believe that both these elements were given to us for a certain purpose. And the purpose of trust is that it's something that deepens when you see the truth of it in a manifestation. And when you don't see it in manifestation, it either means that you're out of alignment, or it means that something is blocked, or something needs to be cleared up before you can see the truth of what you are trusting in. So to me, faith can be innate, but trust would be built over time and is experiential, and it varies from moment to moment. So let me go a little bit deeper into this. I believe that we are all born with this innate faith, the knowing that I'm speaking about, and how we are brought up, especially the most crucial years of our early life, the amount of safety that we have in our early life is going to very strongly determine both how much of our faith we stay connected to, our innate knowing of being connected to a higher power or being a higher power. And similarly, having that safety is also going to determine whether we are trustful or mistrustful of either the world or even the universe. Now, there's a psychologist that did a whole theory on this, and his name is Erik Erikson, and he has a theory called the psychosocial theory, and it's a developmental theory about how children develop, the psyche of the child develops socially. And one of the things so there are many stages, so there are 8 stages, so too many details and not relevant to this video. But the stage that's relevant to this video is the very first stage, and it's called the trust versus mistrust stage. And what Erik Erikson said in his theory was that you either were successful in completing each stage or you were not. And if you were successful in completing a particular developmental stage, it gave you confidence and gave you a feeling of adequacy about that stage and helped you to move more easily into the next stage. But if you were not able to complete that developmental stage, then it would leave you with a sense of inadequacy in that area. And for a child to develop fundamental trust, and again, my definition of trust is what you see in 3D. So here's an example. I trust that you will bring me my bottle of milk every day because I have experienced that you bring me my bottle of milk every day. If for the next 1 week you stop bringing me a bottle of milk every day, my trust in you will go down. It's not the same as faith. Faith is more hopeful. Faith is you saying, okay, you were bringing me a bottle of milk every day. I don't know what's happened, but it's not coming anymore. But somewhere I have faith that at some stage the milk is going to show up because, well, I have this innate belief that there's a higher power, or I am a higher power, or something's going to come through, somebody's going to come through with some milk. But if I repeatedly don't see that bottle of milk coming, I am going to lose my trust, because trust is about truth. So I don't see that truth working. I think one of the gurus whose discourse I'd attended a couple of years ago had even said this. He said, the only way to know the truth from a lie is only the truth will work. And so when the truth is working, you develop trust, and when it isn't, there's no truth, and therefore your trust levels are going to be lower. So coming back to Erikson's theory, if you had enough safety in that time, and the developmental task of developing trust versus mistrust happens at about 2 years of age, so it's a very fundamental developmental task. If you had the safety, if you felt absolutely secure that every need would be met, that everything you needed emotionally, physically was taken care of, you would develop a strong trust in life, in your family, because at the end of the day, children see their families, their parents as the universe. So whatever you learn from your parents, eventually your worldview becomes that, well, this is the universe. It isn't, but that's how our brains work, is they can be limited that way. And that's why I said trust is different, because faith does not come from the brain. Trust is more if you go by Erik Erikson's developmental theory and psychology, then trust is more a learning thing from your brain, whereas faith is more deep, it's more innate. And therefore, even if you're not very trusting, some people are not very trusting, but somewhere they still have that deep faith, and it gives them hope. And so, if you didn't have that safety, if you were constantly in an unsafe emotional environment, or you didn't have your needs met at that age, then the opposite would happen. You would grow up with a lot of mistrust, and possibly the idea that the world is not a safe place, and my needs are not going to get met, and I can't trust that I'm going to be able to meet my needs. So the important ingredient that brings both faith and trust together is the safety. And this is a very important thing to understand, because if you did not complete that developmental task, not because of anything you did, but because you were not provided that safety, it is going to affect both your faith and your trust. Trust to a larger extent than faith, because faith is still deeper, it's still more innate. But I actually made my own diagram about this. Again, this is mostly my perspective, so it's my take on this and my experience with it. You don't have to resonate with that. But basically I made a little sort of hierarchy of needs triangle where faith and trust are concerned, and I put faith at the bottom because, as I said, it's a fundamental innate idea or feeling or impression we have of being part of something larger or being something larger. And then trust is right at the top, because trust is developed by experiencing, having your needs met in 3D, having what you want show up in 3 dimensions consistently will make you trustful. And safety I put in the middle because I always say, if you go with Erik Erikson's theory, and I strongly resonate with his theory, when your safety goes up, that is, you have a higher safety in your fundamental childhood life, and even later in adult life, if you are just generally more fortunate to stay in a safer, and when I say safer, I don't mean necessarily physically safe, I also mean an emotionally safe environment, then you will see that your faith expands, because when you have safety, it opens up your faith, it opens up that innate, it flowers it, and your trust will also increase because you have the safety of knowing that your needs are always met. And when you don't have the safety, when your safety is low, when your emotional needs are not met, when you're either psychologically, emotionally, or physically consistently unsafe, it actually tends to dampen your faith. So it affects your faith because you may have that innate knowing, but it gets covered up. And this is what I've seen constantly in victims of abuse or child abuse, is that they somewhere feel that God failed them, or they were like, I used to believe in God, I used to believe in the universe, and now I'm just like, because their lack of safety, it actually dampened the faith. And when the safety is low and your faith is dampened, it again impacts your trust, because you're not seeing, your faith is low, so you don't get out there with a lot of hope to begin with. The faith is dampened, and then anyway you're not feeling safe, and you already have this idea that you can't trust, so your trust is low. I don't trust the world, I don't trust the universe, I don't think I'm going to get my needs met, and then it just sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So just some food for thought, very short video this one, which is a change for me. And I'd just like to end this video by sharing a very interesting story that illustrates what I'm talking about. And it's actually something that a story that happened to a friend of mine. And when he related the story to me, it just made so much sense. And he said to me that he loves to swim, and one day he decided to go out and just go take a long swim, and he went down to the beach and he was alone, and he swam for a while without realizing how far he was swimming out. And at some stage he started to panic because he realized he had swam out much further than he had intended, and he was getting tired, and he was really scared of drowning, getting muscle cramps, and he had no energy to sort of swim back when he saw how far he had swum out. And he said to me, Lippy, I completely panicked. And he was like, I'm not a religious person, I'm not even a spiritual person, and I'm not much of a prayer guy. But he said in that moment, something said to me, just ask for help. And he said the first thing he said was, is there somebody out there? Is there somebody out there? Please help me. And he says the minute he said that, he said this was weird. He felt something below his foot, and he was in pretty deep water. So I don't know how this works technically, but I know him to be a truthful person, so I don't believe that he was bullshitting me with the story. But he says it's really weird, but he felt something below his foot, and when he touched it, he realized there was this kind of a rocky formation, or like a rock, where he could rest his feet for a little while. And he said the minute he rested his foot on that rock, he suddenly trusted that there was something or some energy or some power looking after him, and that, everything is going to be okay. He trusted that he was going to not die and make it back to shore. So he rested for as long as he could on that, just 1 foot on that rock, and finally he swam back to shore. Now, when I heard his story, I've been going through a very interesting phase, so I will talk about this more in other videos, but I went through an entire paradigm shift as part of my spiritual growth about a year and a half ago. And the paradigm shift for me has been so profound and so deep that it's literally me building an entire new paradigm, building an entire new foundation within myself, within my psyche. And one of the fundamental things that I have had to do in rebuilding from that new paradigm is to develop trust. And I was very clear with the universe, and I was like, I'm not going to trust you like this. I have faith in you. I have faith in you. But I'm not going to trust you till I see evidence of my faith converting into something 3D, like things really showing up. And when I heard this friend's story, I was like, I want those rocks. I have enough faith to say what he said, like, is there somebody out there? Because that's the faith that makes you ask that. Like, is there someone out there? Is there something out there? Or am I that person who's out there? I don't know, whichever way you want to look at it. And then the trust is like the guy feeling that rock. It's like, well, in 3D apparently there is. So I asked the universe, I said, I have the faith, but my trust is low because I did not complete the developmental task at age 2. So I don't have a particularly strong trust of the world or the universe. But I'm developing that by asking for that to show up in 3D and saying, yeah, that's what's going to build my trust. If I see things, and when I don't see things, I know I'm out of alignment, and then I need to look at, for whatever reasons, they're not showing up. Or maybe I'm not out of alignment, something else is out of alignment in my environment. We won't get into too many details there. So just I guess I'm babbling on about this, but just some thoughts about faith, trust, and safety that I wanted to share with you. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and it's been really nice connecting again. Do connect with any questions you may have about this. Thank you, and goodbye.